Good. So we're here with Matt. Matt was caught up in the dangerous web sting, and it was kind of unfair because Matt was targeted by Dateline and other forces, and he has some things he wants to get off his chest.
Thank you, Joey.
You're welcome.
And I would agree with you 100% that I was indeed targeted by the program NBC Dateline. And I don't know specifically the cause. However, I do know that it was, of course, in New York City 3 years after September the 11th, 2001. And the president at that time, George W. Bush, was running or preparing to run for re-election. I also believe that what is known in New York City as Kendra's Law was a factor because the story of Kendra Webdale, who unfortunately was pushed in front of a oncoming subway in New York City by an individual by the name of Andrew Goldstein, was featured on Dateline many times. And myself and many of those around me who were also incarcerated at the Creedmoor Psychiatric Center were, affected by this law, where our specific cases had nothing to do with this individual. However, because the assisted outpatient treatment law was created due to the actions of Mr. Goldstein, we were persecuted by that law. And I believe that Lynn Keller, the executive producer of Dateline, located me within Creedmoor, within that program. I was also attending the Connecticut School of Broadcasting at that time. I believe I was targeted, and for the reasons I just mentioned, the political climate in New York City in early 2004, in addition to my knowledge of what really happened on September 11th, 2001 in Lower Manhattan. In the summer of 1994, I had opened an account with the online brokerage E-Trade. I was one of the first customers of E-Trade, which is now a household name, I believe. And at the time, there was only one other online broker in existence. So I think what Mr. Hansen did with his program to catch a predator was utilize it in a way to deter people from looking at the stock market, NASDAQ level 2, the New York Stock Exchange, because those electronic exchanges work in a similar manner and the interface is similar. And I also gained the knowledge from an article in Forbes magazine that featured an individual named Serge Millman on its cover discussing day trading. And I also read a book called The Electronic Day Trader that was written by two gentlemen named Mark Friedfertig and George West. And what that book describes that is vital to this day, and in my opinion is vital in relation to what happened on September 11th, 2001, and is extremely vital to the political realities of the last 25 years of this country, is that people often ask, is the stock market rigged? And my answer to that would be yes, at some times it is, but there's also times that it's not. And the mechanism that is at work when the stock market is, let's say, rigged or designed to favor a certain group of people, the method to, or one of the methods to trade the stock market successfully is called scalping. And I believe that Dateline, NBC, etc., the reason I was targeted is because I have knowledge of those things and how they work, and Dateline was looking for a story, and that story in particular, the To Catch a Predator program, where many people showed up. Who knows what they thought? Some didn't show up. So what was the district attorney, the assistant district attorney in Kaufman County, Texas, thinking? He wasn't thinking he was going to show up because he didn't. So I think because of those political realities, although I may not be describing them the best that I can at the moment, I think those are the political realities that led to me being targeted. So at this time, I would just tell people that if they're on Facebook or YouTube or Twitter, that indeed they are being monitored. And whatever political opinion they might express, me personally, I would think it's their right in this country to express any political opinion they might like to, because we are guaranteed freedom of speech in the United States of America. What I've learned is that it may not necessarily be what you think that causes you to be targeted. It's what might cause you to be targeted or will cause you to be targeted is not thinking what they think, so to say. They have their political beliefs and their convictions in those people's minds. So if somebody comes along with different ideas that don't agree with their ideas, their political ideologies, it's not that you think what you do, it's that you don't think what they think. So that's what they target. It's very similar to totalitarian countries such as Nazi Germany. To get yourself targeted in Nazi Germany, you would have to think ideas or express ideas that were not in line with the Nazi ideology and, of course, the totalitarian regime of Adolf Hitler. So I think Chris Hansen is full of you-know-what. And he's taken this and run with it as long as he can. And honestly, I was taking a second look at that Murphy, Texas episode just the other night. I think Chris Hansen has bounced more than just checks to pay for mugs and T-shirts and whatever he got arrested for in Connecticut. He bounced chat transcripts on the general public with that program. And the man is a fraud. And I'm surprised that any law enforcement agency would participate with him, to tell you the truth. So I would be happy to face off with them. I may not be recording the best video at the moment.
No, you're doing great, Matt.
Okay, I appreciate that. So, to tell you the truth, 15 years have gone by. I've been in Riverhead Jail 4 times. I was in Rikers Island for 6 weeks. I've been in state psychiatric hospitals since that incident, and I honestly have never had anybody ever think or accuse me of the heinous crimes that I was accused of by Dateline. I believe that I believe I have a right to file a civil claim against the Dateline program and or Chris Hansen and or Perverted Justice. And I would say that all 3 of those entities are separate entities just for that reason. And I think the nature of the program was designed for the same reason that Dateline has done other programs where they know that they may be in the wrong, but the people who they're profiling do not have the resources to fight back and defend themselves in court. Even with the even with the incident that they created with the pickup trucks, General Motors pickup trucks, General Motors had to go to a great deal of trouble to locate those pickup trucks in a junkyard to discover the evidence to demonstrate for a court that Dateline did indeed orchestrate those programs. So I don't have General Motors lawyers. I certainly do not have General Electric's lawyers. So if this is my avenue to try to fight back, then I would thank the man upstairs for giving me any kind of opportunity to tell my side of the story. And I believe that you are innocent until proven guilty. Many people in this country who have been crucified by the electronic press are stunned that this country doesn't seem to work that way. And if it does, when you're accused of such things, even if you're found innocent, you live with those stains and that dirt on you for the rest of your life. So I would say to Dateline that they're really not fooling anybody, because I have walked in my shoes for 15 years since that incident, and I have never really had any type of trouble in terms of being identified as a sexual predator, as a pedophile. Any person who's ever approached me, with questions, or was that you on that show, they honestly wanted to know, how did they do it? How does Dateline do that? I see something is wrong with the picture, but I can't figure it out. And the bottom line is that the Yahoo chat rooms, and you'll notice that the majority of the investigations feature individuals who are in Yahoo chat rooms. The Yahoo chat rooms worked with a drill down menu type method. So you would log into the system, and you would start at the top logically, and then there would be categories, and it might be business and finance, or sports, business, science, and technology, etc. And then as you drill down, you would stop, and then location and adult were kind of mixed up, where the Yahoo chat service is gone.
Right.
But when you click location, I think it was, you click location, and then in the drop-down menu under location was adult. So for many web surfers at that time, they might go from one room to another. And because adult and location were easily confused, you would often go into location rooms, and there would be sexual type discussion taking place. And there was also instant messages. So if you saw someone with a female name, you might instant message them and say, hello, how are you? And try to start a conversation. In retrospect, I realized that if you press one button on your keyboard and it's on YouTube or Facebook, it's there forever. And that's the reality I think everybody has to deal with now if they have a cell phone in their hand or a computer in front of them. So at the time, it was the Wild West, and I've heard it described as the Wild West. I'm not going to make excuses for my behavior. I can tell you I was under a great deal of duress, trying to get back to work, trying to satisfy whatever requirements I had at the Creedmoor State Psychiatric Hospital, which were demanding, also intentionally inflicting distress onto me and also the people around me. I recall having class at the Connecticut School of Broadcasting on a Thursday night. I had left Creedmoor. I went to school. I came back. During that time, I was forced to stay at Creedmoor during the week, and they allowed me to go home on the weekends. And I remember coming to Creedmoor one time, I think it must have been a Friday, and whoever was behind the desk, where were you? We were looking for you. And I said, why? I made all my required appointments. I checked in when I was supposed to check in, and they had called my friends, my landlord, my family.
Who's they?
They is the employees at Creedmoor.
Okay.
So I was targeted. It's 15 years later. They covered my face. The show aired once. I went on, I'm still trying to go on with my life. Let me also say that there are lines in the transcript that are not mine. When I was returned to Creedmoor, which Perverted Justice reported on their website, my lawyer came into the room, and I asked her, why am I being kept? And she said, because you asked the girl to be your F toy. And I said to my lawyer, no, I didn't. I never said that. And she kind of threw her hands up, and I think she said, I don't know if she said yes, you did, but she kind of threw her hands up, like I said, like she was kind of powerless too. And let me say, I grew up in Fresh Meadows, Queens, New York, which was owned and developed by the Helmsley Spear Corporation. Harry Helmsley also owned the Empire State Building. We never were allowed to have pets, dogs, cats, nothing. in our apartments in Fresh Meadows. I did not say that. And again, I think if you use some critical thinking, you'll see that the entire program that Dateline engineered was because of things like that. Because people might at that time have been going onto the internet and looking at pornography or ordering sex toys online. I never said that. Perverted Justice or Chris Hansen threw that in there. I never said that. There's other lines in there that I did say, and it's comical to me that upon my first admission at Creedmoor, in the state of mind that I was in, that a social worker by the name of Rosemary Warshaw had told me that I had just joined the Marines. I didn't see it that way, and it's not an excuse. It's the state of mind that I was in. I was isolated. There were bondage and domination rooms on the Yahoo chat service. And like some of the other individuals who showed up on the show, you know, in some level on my mind, I felt like I wanted it to happen. I did need some help. Creedmoor was torturing me. My family was not, supportive at that time. They were manipulating me. Right. So you know what? I think if you take someone like Hansen, especially over the last 15 years, he's bouncing checks. He's arrested for bouncing checks. So here's someone who's going to later on bounce checks, but he's also going to have your constitutional rights trampled because he has a transcript. Well, does the transcript bounce? Let me tell you, it does. I know there was lines in my chat that were not mine. So that chat is, zero. It's worth 0 cents to me. It's worth whatever it was worth to NBC, which is a lot of money as it turns out. But Chris Hansen is showing that, he's going to pay you 10 cents for something that costs 15 cents. Well, the problem with that is who's going to pick up the difference? And that's where I'm suffering. So I don't know. I know Dateline made a lot of money with that program, and that's why they kept going on with it. So look at his credibility today. And that's what I would tell anyone who wants to take a closer look at that show. The discrepancy or the confusion caused by the layout of the Yahoo chat software is what made that show possible. And there were user-created rooms. You and I had discussed that the other day. And it was simply a threat. Its existence was simply a threat to NBC and NBC Dateline because they are in the business of capturing eyeballs, selling advertising space to corporations, and winning the battle for eyeballs from ABC and CBS and Fox and now YouTube. And as we know, there's television executives all over the country still, crapping their pants to this day with good reason, because the music industry is basically gone, the movie industry is basically gone, and the TV people are hanging on for dear life. So I'm not going to suffer for that reason. And, if you're ever arrested and you don't feel you're being arrested for any reason or the right reason, you're going to want to read the Constitution. You're going to want to know the Constitution, because we do have rights. Anybody accused of anything has rights. They have a right to a fair trial. They have a right to an attorney. The media is not a law enforcement agency. And the amount of deception on that show was obviously noticed by Marsha Bartell, former Dateline executive producer who refused to participate anymore and filed a lawsuit for wrongful termination and lost her lawsuit for wrongful termination. So to sue General Electric or NBC is extremely difficult. And because they know what they are doing or knew what they were doing, they said, oh, it's a parallel investigation, meaning, Perverted Justice, who's basically John Q. Public, is going to cut and paste the evidence, and the television personality is going to do the interrogation, and then the police are going to be the last stop, it makes no logical sense whatsoever. So if people are comfortable, and they should not be, with that reality in America, where Chris Hansen is going to leave the boiler unscrewed, and then if you want to come over, and maybe charge him, 10 extra bucks because you made the delivery man come out extra 50 miles and so forth. He's going to, what does Chris Hansen do? He's socially engineering situations is what he's doing. And he's targeting people who don't have the resources to be able to fight against him legally. So he can't sell the show because nobody wants it, because he's a liability. And that's exactly what he became to Dateline. And the amount that the assistant district attorney's family was paid is undisclosed. And then NBC reported that he was fired because of his marital infidelities. That is not correct. He was fired because he brought a SWAT team to the home of an assistant district attorney in Kaufman County, Texas, and cost the man his life. And the reason that Judge Denny Chin awarded the Conrad family the money that he did is because that's exactly what Hansen did. He intentionally inflicted emotional and psychological distress onto Louis Conrad in Murphy County, in Murphy, Texas, Kaufman County, Texas. So I find it ironic that Mr. Conrad was airlifted to, in Dallas, Texas, I believe the same hospital that President Kennedy was taken to after he was assassinated. Okay. So that's what Chris Hansen's business is. He's in the business of character assassination. And that's exactly what he did to me. So I don't have any choice but to fight back at this time, and I would gladly do it. 1, for my own constitutional rights. 2, for the constitutional rights of every American citizen. And 3, because the man is a fraud. And I'm not going to have my life determined by a fraud. I'm not going to have my character defamed by a fraud. And I'll be more than happy to face off with him in any public forum. And if you can make that happen, I'd be more than willing to do it. It doesn't have to be the Oprah Winfrey show, but if I have a foothold now to fight back for the reasons I said I would like to, then I will. And I don't need financial compensation because I have rebuilt my life. And I have received a commercial driver's license in New York City. And it's not about money for me. It's about the truth. It's about defending people, defending our Constitution, and so forth. I'm going to do the right thing. And that's the bottom line for me. So, I'll do what I have to do. I don't want this to consume my life. And that's where I am today.
Perfect. Matt, thank you so much.
You're welcome, Joey. Did you record that?
We got it. We're all set. And we'll try to put it up tomorrow.
Okay, may I share it on my Facebook page?
Hell yeah, you can.
Absolutely. All right, awesome. I really appreciate it, man.
Matt, I appreciate it too, and I'll shoot you an email or I'll shoot you a text when we're done.
Awesome. Let's stay in touch, okay?